Greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode 221 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the stoner next to me, and next to him, it's Trav in the house. Full house here on Ref the District, as we've got exciting news to talk about with a stadium RFK deal on the verge, $3 billion. We're going to tease that. That's going to come in the cool down. You got to wait a little bit. You got to stick around for that one here in the warm-up. We're going to be talking about a Deebo problem. Should Washington go wide receiver early in 2025, maybe with that 29th pick? We're going to go over some of the wide receiver options, kind of talk about where we are with Deebo Samuel and the rest of this wide receiver room. All that's going to happen here in the warm-up. And then today's topic du jour, or topic, maybe not du jour anymore after the stadium deal, but the topic we did plan for today is going to be the top 30 visits and just how important these visits are for the team and what we can potentially glean from all of these as Washington is set to host or has already hosted or currently hosting, depending on when you are watching this video, 20 of their top 30 visits all simultaneously. And again, at Topgolf, going to be a lot less of a problem in year two, but we'll talk about that later. Of course, we do stream live every Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern here on YouTube and Facebook. We appreciate when you jump in. Just make sure you hit that like button, that you're subbed up on the channel, and that you're sharing it with others so they can join the conversation as well. As always, Locked On Law, JG holding it down early in pre-show with the conversations. Looks like Stoner was going back and forth with them there. Gus Bus in the house as well. Jersey here, and I appreciate everybody jumping in. Let me know when you're jumping in and when you're watching so we can shout you out as well. I agree, JG. It's good to have us all here together. Love seeing all of us here together. Let's get right into the content. No ad reads, thankfully, to mention, and we get to just go straight into the goods here. I have up on our channel right now a Deebo problem is what it says. And should Washington go wide receiver early? Stoner.
Yep.
This is your dilemma.
Yes, it is. It's a dilemma.
It's the Stoner situation.
Yeah.
If you will. Because I definitely missed the Deebo dilemma when I was writing out the show today. But Mox Nix, that doesn't matter. But maybe it does matter that Washington, Adam Peters, have a Deebo Samuel situation on their hands. What is that?
Well, look here, Trev. Here is the Deebo dilemma, Nathan. They've got 5 wide receivers on the books right now.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
All 5 of them, except for Luke McCaffrey, are on the last year of their deal.
Yeah.
Right? You got Michael Gallup, KJ Osborne, and Noah Brown all signed 1-year deals.
Yep.
Deebo Samuel has 1 year left on his contract, $17.5 million. And of course, McLaurin is on the last year of his deal. We all know Terry McLaurin is getting re-upped. That's not a question. He's absolutely going to get re-upped, probably for about $30 million a year. Trev, I'm going to ask you, because I asked Nathan this earlier this week. So now I'm asking you.
Okay.
What does a Deebo Samuel good season look like? He's wide receiver 2.
Okay.
If at the end of the year, what does a Deebo Samuel, what do his numbers look like where you say that was what we needed from Deebo Samuel in the last year of his contract at $17.5 million?
To be quite honest, if he's wide receiver 2, I need him and Deebo Samuel. I need him to finish the season with at least between 700 and 1,000 yards.
Okay. Receiving.
Yep.
Okay.
Receiving. That's, little touch sweep passes, that counts, whatever, screens, whatever. 700 to 1,000 yards. 5 to 8 touchdowns. You're wide receiver 2. You should contribute a lot. And catches, I don't know, at least 50 catches. No less than 50 catches. I mean,
sure.
I don't know. That's might sound crazy.
Lamade Zaccheaus had 44.
Okay, but yeah, definitely.
He's a throwaway.
Yeah,
right?
Most definitely he should have at least 50. To be like, okay, that was worth the trade. That was worth the early trade. That was worth the early offseason move that we did. And we might even keep him around for another 2 or 3 years to pair with Terry McLaurin. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's where I'm leading to. So he gets a couple hundred more on the ground, a couple more touchdowns.
Yeah.
So let me throw some numbers out at you.
Okay.
68 catches, 912 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns. Another 274 yards on the ground and another 2 touchdowns. So we're talking about 1,200 yards and 7 or 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right? You'd be like, that's what we needed from Deebo as wide receiver 2.
Yes.
Here's the dilemma with that. If he does that and is locked on a saying over here, you're going to have to pay him. Somebody's going to have to pay him some money because he's only 29. He's going on 30. He'll be 30 after the season, I believe. He just turned 29.
Yeah.
Are you going to pay Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin a combined $60 million a year, which is what a wide receiver with those kind of numbers is going to cost you? It's probably 25, 26, 27 million dollars a year. You going to do that?
Depends on how long.
I'm asking you. There is no depends. You got to make that
tough.
Decision. Are you paying
know,
2 wide receivers who are both 30 years old? You're going to pay them $60 million a year?
Why not?
Because that's a lot of money on 2 wide receivers.
That's fine.
Older wide
2 older guys. They're both will be over 30 years old when they start the season in 2020.
Okay,
I'm saying those guys are JD5's on a rookie contract. Why not pay him?
For sure.
True, but okay, let's say you have those same stats and we make it to the first round of the playoffs as a wild card and lose. Now that really determines if we're going to bring him back or not, because it's like, hey, thanks for your production. It didn't, get us where you wanted to be. You're 30 years old. You also missed 2 games or 3 or 4 games. So I see what you're saying, but like me, it's just a lot goes into that if I would pay him.
Sure.
But
sure,
if he does have
it's
those,
not black and white. Right.
Right. If we have those stats and we went to the NFC Championship again or kind of far or the whole thing or whatever, then I'd be like, yo, go ahead and bring him back. We can draft a wide receiver 3 or develop with McCaffrey, like whatever. Like just we have a wide receiver 1 and 2 set for a while instead of having to go out and hear about Brandon Ayuk want to come over here and be like, nah, it's not happening, or going out and seeing what all these other diva wide receivers want to get paid. Because to me, I don't think Deebo, every wide receiver is a diva in a way. Even Terry is. He just doesn't show it, but everyone is. But Deebo doesn't really come off as a gloating diva. Like you never really see him complain about calls. You never really see him. He's always smiling, happy, dancing. Like he's never like Maye doesn't get the ball. Like I've never seen it watching Deebo Samuel. So yes, if we have a successful season with those stats, lock him up before you have to pay JD5. Yes, I agree. But if we have those stats and we don't do as well as we did this past season, we can find another receiver to replace Deebo Samuel. Like you guys said, he's aging, and there's another guy who can run screens, probably if not just as good, better than Deebo Samuel. So
yeah, we're in the catbird seat, right? This is fantastic what Adam Peters did. Used a 5th round pick to get potential at wide receiver, a former All-Pro, guy who is a weapon, an athlete. Sure. If he turns out to be wide receiver 2 this year and he demands a big payday, as he has every right to do after the season, Washington is in a good position because they used a 5th round pick. Whether or not they pay him that money that's a future problem right now. Not a big issue. That's a great thing. Of course. If you traded a 5th round pick and he doesn't produce for you, misses 4 games, has less than 1,000 yards combined type deal, you only spend a 5th round pick. It's no big deal.
Right.
What I love about the situation is that's how we're looking at it right now. Now, as Stoner, the problem that you're presenting, the dilemma, the situation as it is, the sitch is he does super well and he is owed $30 million, which people don't necessarily want to pay him $30 million. I don't think he's necessarily worth $30. I'm sorry. The market is already set.
That's right.
At $30 million.
Somebody's paying him.
Yeah, because because money keeps going up every year. So this
Right.
was what top wide receivers got this year. Next year, they're getting more.
Right,
And the year after that, right? So Deebo Samuel is going to get more
Mhm.
than a lot of better wide receivers, probably, just because of when he's getting his contract. And if he plays as well as he did, he'll deserve it. Washington doesn't have to pay him, though. Let
You're
somebody
right,
else
they
pay
don't.
it, and then you're going to get a comp pick for the fact that somebody just got a big paycheck like that.
Sure.
And which is fantastic for Adam Peters. Or if you figure out the space and they feel like that's where the team's going, you're the one who pays it because you feel like that's what your team needs. I feel like that this is super, 4D chess coming from Adam Peters, and I love it.
Well, I think all that's fair. When we're talking about this particular season, I think all of that is in play in terms of getting what you get out of him and hopefully move it along pretty well, move the season along further than they did last year. But yeah, it just does pose the dilemma, and maybe kind of bringing it full circle to what we're talking about here. Maybe that turns around and then becomes a decision-making point for what they do in this year's draft at the wide receiver position. And that's kind of what we're talking about here is should Washington take a wide receiver either at 29, 61, whatever. And it's all kind of dependent on what they really believe in Deebo Samuel or not, and whether or not that if he does have that kind of year, if they believe he does, then they got to pay him. Then you don't want to draft a wide receiver this year that high.
And I think this goes back to what you say all the time, Stoner, is don't listen to what they say, watch what they do.
Oh, 100%.
And this isn't necessarily just on Deebo Samuel, but you listed off the rest of the wide receiver room. There's nobody outside of Luke McCaffrey who is on this roster as a wide receiver for more than 2 years.
Correct.
In fact, you can even go to pass catching and the tight ends. You got a guy who is a glorified tackle, as Stoner calls him,
right?
And John Bates, and you got Ben Sinnott.
Well, those guys are under contract for three.
That's what I'm saying. It's those are the other pass catchers that you have that are under contract for more than just next year.
Yeah,
it's not a long list, is what I'm saying, and so that's one of the reasons why we're talking about this situation and why they possibly can and should go wide receiver early here in this draft is looking for a guy to go there. Now, who they go with is a whole nother matter. And we've got a few names to talk about. First, we'll talk about Jersey Slim's comment here. Appreciate you joining us tonight, Jersey. We're going to get Higgins from Iowa State, is going to have a good year. He's working this offseason, and salary cap is going up next year. We'll be able to pay. I think that's the Deebo Samuel stock. But Jersey, big on Higgins. The picture I have here up here, and somebody that I think Stoner and I are pretty high on. Trav, any information you got on Higgins that you like? Trav is muted.
Man.
Do that every time. Do it every time. No, because I've just been focused on edge rushing help and cornerback help and safety help because me personally on wide receivers this draft, they're great, but then nobody's jumping off the highlight tape. It's all running backs and quarterbacks. Then they talk about wide receivers. They talk about the Luther Burdens and the McMillan from Arizona, I guess, something like that, and this guy, and it's like two or three. I personally don't want to go into camp with a bunch of tryouts at wide receiver position. I think we should, draft one if we can't pass up his best player available in the draft at the later rounds, but because then we still have post June first cuts for wide receiver help if we need it.
Sure.
So I think edge rushing is more important to me than signing a wide receiver early in this year's draft. You can get a wide receiver. We still have Luke McCaffrey to develop. I'm not trying to be draw feelings into a game of football, but what's that going to do to Luke McCaffrey if we go and get a wide receiver? What's it going to do to his mentality? What's it going to do it's going to push him harder? Or is it going to be man, maybe I'm not what they thought I was? Yeah, or like
focus on return game because that's probably where you're going to see some time.
Yeah, so I just rather would not go into camp with a bunch of wide receiver tryouts to determine who's going to be on the roster rather than go and focus on what we really need, which is edge help, which is defensive
So
help.
you're kind of along the lines of what JG is here saying is we have a greater need elsewhere in almost every other position over wide
Look what
receiver.
we did last year. I'm not saying that's what we're going to do every year, but look what we did last year with the wide receiver room. We got De'Ami Brown paid, and he had his best year, and he had like less than 30 catches probably, and that was his best year here for us. He got $10 million in Jacksonville. We had Terry McLaurin who stood out. We brought back Noah Brown. We brought back KJ Osborne who played maybe 7 snaps. Like we did what we did last year with Terry McLaurin at the wide receiver room and everybody else. So like he just said, it's not that big of a need right now in the draft.
I'm kind of in that same box, Trev, because we talked about it on our wide receiver show, our top 5 wide receiver show, that look, this was the 5th ranked offense. And this was the 18th ranked defense, the worst defense of all the playoff teams. Our focus, our mentality is because when you look at offense, they made moves to improve the 5th ranked offense by bringing in wide receiver 2 and also by bringing in Laramie Tunsil at offensive tackle. So they greatly improved the 5th ranked offense.
Right.
The defense, the 18th ranked defense, you can really say maybe they just kind of did the same thing.
Sure.
They didn't really improve. They just replaced guys with kind of the same guy or somebody similar, maybe a little cheaper. So really, they should be, I would think, they should be focusing every draft pick on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
But make no mistake, like you said, like JG said, they could draft literally any position other than quarterback, and you'd say they need that guy.
Right.
If you drafted a running back, which we're going to talk about next week, if you drafted an offensive lineman, a defensive end, a linebacker, a corner, a safety, a wide receiver, you need that guy.
Yeah.
So
which is great. You just take the best player available. That's
right.
That's
if one of these guys is BPA at our spot and our target's already left or whatever, then go ahead and snatch him up.
Yeah, maybe T-Mac here as Gus Bus as opening up a can of worms with this one.
Is insane.
If Tet McMillan falls to us at 29, Gus Bus says, I seriously look to trade Terry. If I can get back a first at least, is what Gus Bus says. That one,
I love you,
Trev
bro.
and I saw this one. I think Stoner, you saw the looks in our faces. Trev and I we read that comment and we're like, I don't care what Stoner's talking about right now. Yeah. That right there is is spice.
Hey, Gus.
I'm with.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your support for every week, everything. But that comment right there, no way, dude. Why would you trade Terry McLaurin for a non-proven guy who's only proved himself in the college game and he has a cool name and that's it? Like, I don't.
You know what's funny?
You don't. Don't do it, Gus. Don't do it.
You know what's funny is that you guys, that statement alone, what you just said, Trev, is you don't trade a proven guy for an unproven guy. You guys are finally coming around to my whole Bradley Beal talk from the Wizards.
Bro,
why you trading?
We don't need to talk about a team that's got a 14% chance to get the number
one.
He's
bad wherever he goes.
Yeah, but I'm saying, why would you trade an established guy to get a guy that you hope will?
Yeah,
it's just like Tet McMillan.
Yeah,
right.
Can't do it.
Why would you draft that guy in hopes he becomes what? Terry McLaurin. You already got Terry McLaurin.
Exactly.
You don't need.
That's because we did this already. We went and got Josh Dotson. What'd he do?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
So that's football
anywhere.
I'm glad you guys are coming around to my side about don't be trading these vets who are proven. That's why I like Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz and all these guys that they are bringing back. Marcus Mariota is even one. Bring the veterans in. They've proven it year after year after year.
And not only that, they know how to handle the NFL locker room. Ted McMillan don't know what to do if somebody gets in his face.
when you're, I feel like the first year that was super important, Trev, is building that locker room and trying to get it set. I feel like now they can start to take some calculated risks. Marshawn Lattimore with guys who might not necessarily have quite the same mentality as, the Bobby Wagners and the Jayden Daniels. But we have those two guys still on the roster. I think there's some leeway there with this. Sun here and JG kind of saying the same thing here and agreeing with Trev. Jayden Daniels is going to turn wide receiver Jags into gyms. He's going to get the De'Ami Browns of the world paid. And he is offense in a can, is what I call him all the time.
Absolutely.
You don't necessarily need to spend high wide receiver draft picks. There are some I like. Tet McMillan, I think, is good.
Yeah.
And if he's there at 29, you have a serious question to ask because he likely is going to be the best player available at 29.
Shamar Stewart at 29, also available. Who you taking?
Well, I mean, that's an easy one for me.
Yeah, I know you guys are probably
taking
going
the
edge
defensive
rusher.
end. Oh, yeah.
I can't believe if Tet McMillan's higher on my board. I'm going with Tet McMillan.
This man over here with the beard, that's looking good, by the way.
I know, thank you.
Has been, let me go this way. He's been preaching edge, and then with a chance to get a nice, quality edge.
It's good.
He gonna take a wide receiver.
But I'm the best player available. Again, I'm going to go back to the buckets thing, and I haven't solidified the top end of my buckets. The back end of the buckets I'm probably not even get to this year. I've just got a lot going on. I will say this in the wide receiver grouping. Someone had mentioned it earlier. I think it was Locked On Law. You got one A bucket guy, right? And that's going to go in the top 3 picks, and that's Hunter. Okay,
and he's not going 3.
Yeah, right. He's gone. He's way gone. You don't have a chance at the only A bucket guy, right? In the B bucket, and I'm stretching my B bucket here really a lot. We're talking your 10 to 25. Okay. Man, there's not really a wide receiver in that bucket that I'm really excited about. And then there's a bunch of guys in the C bucket, which now you're going to go from 26 to probably 75. It's a large bucket.
That's a big bucket.
That's your big board. Those guys are all very similar. There's still only a handful of guys there. If Washington doesn't spend one of their first 2 round picks on a wide receiver, don't worry about the guy they get with a 4th round pick, because he's probably not that much better or worse than a guy at the 3rd round. Once you get past the second round of wide receivers in this group, they're a dime a dozen.
Yeah,
and they're all going to have their strengths. They're all going to have their weaknesses. You're going to find diamonds in the rough. So I'm not saying there's not going to be some guy who's going to have a Pro Bowl year sometime in his NFL career that's picked past the 2nd round. But this draft, you got one stud, and you got about 7 or 8 other guys that are gonna be okay. They're gonna be okay.
All right. So Nathan, let me challenge you a little bit on your buckets and your BPA. And Trev, I know Trev's with me on this. We're both draft for need kind of guys, but it's not black and white. We all know it's not a draft for need or draft. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of math, a lot of science that goes into it. But here's 2 challenges for you, Nathan.
Okay.
First one is this. Johnny Newton last year, who they drafted in the 2nd round, they absolutely couldn't pass him up because he was the best player available.
Yes, he was.
And he had a 1st round grade, and he was still there available.
So good.
In the top of the 2nd round, right? Yeah. Well, apparently there were a lot of GMs who did not think the same way as Washington did, because they didn't draft him, and you won't be able to convince me that they didn't have a 1st grade on him. Everybody had a 1st round grade on him, but they all passed too, because why? They needed something more important than a defensive tackle.
I think it's more so they didn't trust whether or not he was going to come back from injury and be that 1st round player that he was rated as.
Okay.
Very similar, by the way, to Jonathan Allen in that regard. And Jonathan Allen fell all the way to the late teens, largely because of an injury. Otherwise, Jonathan Allen wasn't going to be picked by Washington the year that he was drafted. Johnny Newton had not only 1 foot injury, but you got to remember he went and he got drafted and then had another foot surgery. And teams knew that. And so teams know, okay, it's not that just that he's coming off of 1 foot injury. He's going to be having another foot surgery in the same year. And so that to them, they're like, that's too risky for me to spend this draft pick on. Washington came in and they're like, that's a risk. But if this guy gets healthy, he's a dude.
Exactly.
All right.
And that's why they did it. And I love that pick. I love that pick.
I get it. Okay, I get it. And I like that. And when I think about these things, I need that sort of that other side. I need that challenge from the other side as well. But here's another thing. I conducted a very scientific poll earlier today, or a scientific research. And I looked, everybody has a mock draft, right? We have mock drafts. Everybody has mock drafts. The smartest people who are not working for a team have mock drafts all over the place, all the time. It's very easy to find them. I went to one particular mock draft, and I looked through every pick in the first round. And you know what's funny, Nathan? They give an explanation, a reasoning of why they mocked somebody to a certain team. And of the 32 first-round picks, 24 explanations / reasons all had the word need in it.
Sure.
That's why you mock a certain player to a certain team, because they need that guy. And I found 4 where it was just somebody just said they can't pass him up because he's available. He's the best player available, basically, at this point. And some of those were Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. Do you think the Giants need Abdul Carter?
Yes.
They've got Thibodeau, and they've got, who's the guy on the other side from Carolina? Burns.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They don't need. No, hear me out.
There's not a team I don't think that doesn't need an Abdul Carter.
Of course. He's a game changer. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they've got 2 stud defensive ends, but you can't pass him up. So he is a best player available. You can't pass that kind of guy up, right? So they won't if he's there and available. But I can count on.
They're probably going Travis Hunter, but
I can count on one hand how many players are in this draft where they're going to get drafted because they're the best player, regardless of what the team needs. Every other team that you read about, and those are mock drafts. I get it. We do mock drafts. They don't know. But when you mock somebody to somebody's team, you're doing it because that team needs that player.
So when next time you do your scientific research, Stoner,
yes,
I want you to go ahead and take a look at somebody's mock 2024 mock draft. Okay. And you pick whichever one. There's a couple of good ones. Jeremiah is probably good, but Jeremiah, he's smarter than most. He does the top 50 prospects, and he's usually pretty dead on. Okay. On the fact that he's just like, these are my top 50 prospects, and you can almost guarantee 35 plus of those guys are drafted within the first 50 picks. Okay. Which is a great hit rate. But go ahead and take somebody's mock draft from 2024 and match it to who was actually drafted, and you will see things get wild. And I mean, sometimes it's a trade and something like that, but it never lines up. We can mock, and this is one of the things I don't care for mocks, is you can spend all day mocking, and especially at 29, where we're at, and we have no idea who's going to be available at 29, because these GMs, they are all over the map with their board and who they think is the best player available, and what they think their needs are way different than what all these Monday morning quarterbacks do.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I don't want to make it sound like it is a black and white issue, because it's not. It is very scientific, and they don't just sit there and say, well, we need an edge rusher who's available. That's who we're taking. It's not like that. But there are just, it is just kind of interesting to me when I look through all of these, and they all say they drafted him because they need a wide receiver, or, like the Cowboys are drafting a wide receiver because they need a complement to CD Lamb. Let me just finish this. What was interesting about the one that I looked at for Washington was they drafted for this mock draft. They drafted the safety from South Carolina because at 29 on
That's
their
Nathan's
board,
guy.
he was the best player available. And so I thought it was funny that I had all these stats about need, and then it gets to Washington, and it was like, no, he's the best player on the board. So it's just kind of funny how that worked out.
That's Nathan's guy.
Counterpoint, as silly as mock drafts are, go to the press conferences of all those teams,
Yeah.
right? And what is the thing that they say? You're talking about all these mock drafts. Well, they need this. What does every coach and GM say of their first round pick? Says the same thing, Soner. What is it?
They say they're going to take the best player who's on the board.
I'm talking after they drafted a guy.
Oh, after they drafted a player on the board.
We took the best player off the board. They were the highest rated person on our board. They could be the 20. They could be the 27th pick, and it's the 27th wide receiver taken that draft. A wild draft, and they'll still be like, nope. That was the top wide. Yep, that was the top wide receiver on the board. No, it wasn't. No one's better than Travis Hunter.
Right.
Stop fooling yourself. Was not, but that's what they're going to say. This was our guy all the time.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, but it's fun. It's fun to just kind of go through and leading up to it, and then what is one of the most interesting things is afterwards when when they make their pick. Let's just say. Washington takes that safety from South Carolina, Emmanuel, I think is how you say his last name, right? And then you see all these people talking about, I liked him. I knew Washington was gonna had their eye on him and then you look back at all the other 25 different players that they said the same thing about, but they like to say, I told you they were looking at Emmanuel from South Carolina. Well, yeah, he also told me they were looking at this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy.
That's the beauty when you do a dozen of these mock drafts.
Yeah,
you're going to hit maybe eventually on one of them.
At some point, we're all three of us are going to be able to say the same thing. If they take a wide receiver, or Jayden Higgins or whatever, we're going to say, yeah, we love Jayden Higgins. We were talking all about Jayden Higgins or whatever it is. But it is draft season is crazy, man.
It is crazy, but we only got about another week and a half of it. If you wanted more wide receiver talk, go ahead and head over to our top 5 wide receiver at 29. We go over 5, and then we have a couple more. We're looking for, go ahead and get those comments in there. We'll respond back to you. I can't guarantee who Washington is going to pick here in the NFL draft, but I can guarantee you one thing. Adam Peters has definitely had a conversation, whether or not it's in the Top Golf or previous in the top 30 visits. He has talked to that draft player. We're going to be talking more about that here in the game. Stick with us. Welcome to the game here in episode 221. It is top 30 visits season here for the Washington Commanders. And we're going to talk about just how important these group visits are, just how about these top 30 visits, or even just the fact when Washington is linked to having a sit down and a one-on-one with the teams. Because one of the things that I looked at was last year's draft picks. And every single name came up in Washington. Adam Peters or front office, high up front office guy did have an interview with that player. Every single one. Several of them were top 30 visits too, but at least you could have guaranteed Washington did pick them. So I think that's very interesting. Real quick, Trev.
Yeah.
They did Top Golf again today with the Washington Commanders, about 20 prospects who came in. Doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. Last year, everybody was covering it. National media was going wild over it. It seemed like it was just this crazy thing that happened. Why the difference of a year?
Quarterback.
Thank you, Ron.
Last year, we took the top quarterback prospects to Top Golf because that was a huge need, the biggest need of all that we needed last year. So that's why they did it. And that's why we got national media coverage, this and that, because they were the top quarterback prospects, which were projected to go to quarterback needy teams in the very like top 5 picks. So that's why I was covered so much. But this year it's like, okay, we got our quarterback. We made some offseason moves. We got an offensive line stud now and this and that. We got some defensive help. It's like, okay, now we just host a few of these guys to Top Golf. Cool. It's not a big deal because there's not a player in there that is going to make a huge impact on our team, should I say, or like not a franchise changing player or franchise leading like a Drake Maye, Abdul Carter, Jayden Daniels. These are just guys that like they're top guys, but it's like they could be compliments to our team rather than just being the guy. So that's why I think it's a big difference. Quarterback is position and team needs and stuff.
I agree with all that for sure. It's just the names that are there are not that big a deal. But also I think last year it was a situation where it was new, it was different, and a lot of people like to mock different.
That's
right?
True.
And I'm using mock in a different way, not mock draft, but mock as in make fun of. They were making fun of Adam Peters taking all these guys on this trip because they really hadn't heard of it before, and we hadn't heard of it before either. But apparently, I think there were a couple other teams who did it this year, and apparently Adam Peters has done it, or not
San Francisco,
specifically,
yeah.
but in San Francisco, and I think even before that, in New England they did something very similar, but it didn't get the news because you had the quarterbacks as Trev was talking about. You had Penix and McCarthy and Maye and Jayden Daniels were all there, right? So that was like a big deal. And let's not forget that the agent for Jayden Daniels made a big deal about it, made a stink about it, because he was expecting the whole sit down one-on-one
red carpet.
The red carpet treatment, exactly. And they didn't give him that.
No.
And so the agent made a big deal out of it as well. But it was just different. And this year it's not different. They've already proved if they had not had the year that they had, for example, let's say they had a down year last year, then maybe the criticism would have still been there as well.
Right.
So the names, the success of the front office and what they did. So you can't, I mean, how can you criticize the front office at this point when you go to the NFC Championship game in 1 year being on the job? So whatever they're doing is working. So let them.
You're going to start seeing a lot more teams trying to get the Commanders' way, just like it was before the Houston way. And you just need a hit on the quarterback, and most other things tend to fall in line. Not always. The Chargers running through some issues, Cincinnati continuing to struggle. They have quarterbacks, that are legit. Baltimore's had an MVP several years now and still can't manage to get one. So there's that. Now, one thing's for certain, one of these guys in the top 30 visits is also going to be playing in that new stadium. And Joshua, don't worry, we are going to talk about the RFK site. Don't stick around. That's going to be our cool down topic before we get to some mock drafts. We want to give it its space, and plus a lot more people start coming in late. Whenever you come in, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure that you're subbed up on the channel, and make sure you're sharing it with people so they can join the conversation as well. We love having everybody in here and joining these conversations. That was last year's top 30 visits, the golf and everything like that. Let's move on from the past and get to talking to the 20 or 30 people that are coming. Now, I don't have the full list right in front of me. If one of you guys can potentially grab that, I do have a list that seems to be a little bit old on the players that Washington Commanders have a top 30 visit with. So Josh Connolly of Oregon, an offensive tackle. By the way, I love this, by the way, that there's 2 offensive tackles here to lead this. Gerard Christian Lichtenhahn from Oklahoma State as another offensive tackle.
Yep.
If I were Brandon Coleman, I bet I would be working my tail off right now, because if Washington is so dead set on taking another tackle, it means you're probably moving into guard. So again, don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do. If they draft a tackle, Brandon Coleman's probably going to find himself on the inside of the line. Oladejo from UCLA, defensive end, the only edge on this list. Quinton Riley from Louisville. Jonas Sanker from Virginia. Trey Harris, the only wide receiver listed here, and even listed twice for whatever reason.
Right.
Ja'Cory Croskett-Merritt from Arizona, who's a running back. Jalen Smith from USC, who's on the screen right now, and Ashton Gillette from Louisville. No big names here that I'm recognizing. The Gentes from Boise State are missing in this kind of thing.
Mhm.
We're not picking that high, gentlemen. So you're not going to see the Travis
Nope.
Hunters of the world.
No need to
But you're
waste
still gonna
time.
you're going to still see some good names here. So what do you think about the people that they're bringing in for the top 30 as I try to find more information on those?
I'll give you a few more real quick, Trev, and then you can jump in. But and basically, I'll just break it down. They've the list I have, because this is not something that the teams have to put out. This is just from people doing their due diligence and finding the reports and all that. 4 tackles, 2 receivers, 2 running backs, 4 edges, 4 corners, a safety, and a linebacker. That's what they have, who they have met so far, at least the list I have. That's 18 guys out of their top 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That goes about right. I think these guys that are visiting are culture guys, glue guys, development guys that might not necessarily wow you on the tape, but your effort's there. You do make plays, but you're not the star. You don't get all the glory, but you're a grinder and you fit the commander mold. Maybe that's what these guys are. Like you said earlier, everybody that we sat down and had one-on-one with, we ended up drafting or they were on our board, you said. So I think that's what this is too. They're just sitting down, figuring out who can be the glue guys, the culture guys, the grinders that will do anything you ask. They don't care what they ask you to do, they'll do it. Because that list you just gave out, I ain't heard of anybody on that list. I found Ollie Gordon, the running back from Oklahoma State, on the list. Josh Taylor from everything that he does, all the networks he's on. I don't know who he's with now, but he Maxwell Harrison, cornerback from Kentucky, was there on social media today. He posted that. But yeah, I don't know any of these people they visited. So to me personally, I think it's just who fits the commander mold and will be a grinder for us and do whatever we need, whatever we ask.
The running back from Iowa, whose name is escaping me right
Caleb
now.
Johnson.
Yep, he was definitely visiting.
I got a bigger list now, but yeah.
One of the guys that really intrigues me that's on that list is the Boston College.
Yeah.
Right. So having him in that group, that's intriguing to me. But it is just kind of interesting that you don't see, you don't see tackles, defensive tackles.
Nope.
You don't see tight ends.
Right.
If they draft a tight end at any point in this draft, my TV's getting broken. Let me just tell you that right now.
Stoner buys the cheap TVs, so don't worry. He's on the high sense.
So it's just kind of interesting that there are certain groups that they're just not talking to because they don't. So I'd say they don't need a defensive tackle. They don't need a tight end.
Also, with these visits that they're bringing in, they might find the guys that will become stars for us. You know what I mean? Like, let me see here. Like this Quincy Riley cornerback from Louisville, uber competitive corner. He could pair with Mikey Sanistro inside or out. Anthony Belton at NC State. See, these are like Senior Bowl guys. Like, and that's where Adam Peters and company find the gems. That's where they go find the let's see, who would we draft this year? That's probably like, I don't know, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like they really value the Senior Bowl more than the average football fan does, more than the average football mind does. That's where they find their gritty guys, their core guys, that could become gems for us. Not necessarily they were gems in the respective school they played for. So like Central Arkansas, Davis Walker, Edge. You know what I mean? Like guys like that. That Croskett-Merritt from Arizona, Carlin Vigors, cornerback at University of Louisiana Monroe. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like those kind of guys.
Well, to be fair, these top 30 visits, they're not saying these are their top 30 guys to draft. Right.
But they only get 30 of these visits.
That's where
they're like special. These guys are special to them for some reason.
So do we pick the players that we want to come to the top 30 visits? How does that happen?
Yeah,
we do that. We just so then
you have 30. You have 30 visits that you can have with a prospect from the draft, and that's it that you can bring in and
as
sit
an
down
individual.
with as an individual, right?
That
You
is
can
kinda-
do, like you said, Nate, Trev, they can do the stuff at the Senior Bowl and they can do the stuff at the combine as
Team
much
pro
as they want.
days. They got a
Pro,
lot of
all that.
meetings. I'm looking at the full list to see if, hey, when we get there, and we'll cross reference this during the mock drafts, but they like team pro days, the any group setting, you're totally allowed to have those interviews with them. But these players are the ones who get to come to DC.
They had that local day, right?
Mhm.
Remember
Yeah.
they had a recent local day
And
for
some prospects came out for that.
But
yeah.
you can only bring in for individual meetings and interviews with 30 guys.
Right.
And so now they're transitioning out of this whole top 30. Now they're just calling it 30 visits
Good.
because there is no such thing as top,
No.
right? It's not like you can have 50 visits and these are the top 30 that you can only have 30. So now people are not saying top 30 anymore. They're just saying 30 visits.
Yeah, I think the top part it gets a little confusing for people. And I think it's important to note as well, not everybody who's been in this top 30 is going to be drafted by Washington.
No.
Obviously only 5 picks, but
or at all.
It's you actually might see more particularly.
Good point.
Yeah, more particularly what I'm saying is, in those top 30 visits, let me get back to this list. I'm not seeing a Mike Green or a Nick Imamori.
Right.
They're not in the top. They're not in the 30 visits, right?
No.
Yeah.
But hello, I don't think Washington is not going to pick them, but they might. Those guys might get picked over some of the guys who are there, like a Gillette, like an Uraku from Boston College. Totally butchered that man's name. I apologize, Donovan. Please forgive me. Aiden Huntington, an edge from Tulane. Those guys, but these are the ones you can tell. Adam Peters and the interviews that they've conducted, those are the guys that they're honing in on.
Yeah.
Because they don't meet with everybody.
Right. They don't. Well, they don't meet with everybody with a 30 visit.
Sure.
Is what you're saying. Because last year, what is very telling, again, as you said, Nathan, probably a couple times already, don't listen to what they're saying, watch what they do. And every single draft pick last year, they met with at some point. They were not doing this whole, well, we're not going to meet with them so we can do it on the down low and then swoop in and draft a particular guy. No. They want to sit in front of these guys and talk to them and figure out what their character is. Yeah. Are they dogs? Do they find football super important? Are they going to commit to their brothers day in and day out? They need to know that by talking to them. And every single guy that they drafted last year, other than Dominique Hampton, who was their 5th rounder, I believe, they met them all at the combine. Every single one of them met individually with every single one. And Hampton, they met at the Senior Bowl. If they draft a guy, I promise you, they have talked to him at some point, whether it was a Senior Bowl or the combine or a 30 visit or a pro day, whatever. They're not drafting a guy who they missed meeting with and doing some extreme homework with.
Yeah, that's why they're important to this franchise, because they really value the one-on-one interview, off the field stuff. They can watch film and see if you're a dog or not, but are you a dog off the field is what they really want to know.
One more tidbit on the visits and the information, and we're going to get to some of the comments here in the deal. So if you guys can look at some of those comments to see if there's anything to talk about while I bring up this information. So I went back to it, by the way, and going back with the difference between the 30 visits and the non-30 visits. And so just to make note that you should be absolutely looking at all of the names that Washington has been interviewed with, because Mikey, Johnny Newton, and Sennett, their 2nd round picks, none of them were in the 30 visits. Okay. Just FYI. Okay. But Eric All, a tight end out of Iowa, was.
He was.
This is, so you did have that. Now you did get Brandon Coleman. Obviously, Jayden Daniels was there, and John Baptiste was.
Oh, yeah.
There. Yeah.
those were all part of your 30 visits. Chop Robinson, big name from last year, was there, but Washington clearly went elsewhere, and so it's just like it's the 30 visits are probably guys that they really, really do like and wouldn't be upset about drafting, but they might have already interviewed the guy that they're going to take with that 29th pick somewhere else, a team pro day or the combine, the Senior Bowl.
It's already on the card.
Yeah. And there are some character issues with a guy like Mike Green. And that might mean he doesn't get the Commander's tag. And that seems to be big. Washington right now, they're trying to build the right locker room. Maybe they can afford to take a guy who might have some character flaws, but it's still early on in the tenure. They might be a little gun shy about taking a guy who is a loose cannon in that regard.
I think one of the biggest things that I've really liked about learning what this front office has been doing is they don't hide what they do and how they come about their decisions, right? When they talk about it, when they sit down and talk, they'll tell you how they came about these decisions. And they'll tell you that it's important for them to sit down and look a guy in the eye and figure out who he is as a person as well as a football player. And that just kind of gives you, that's just another one on all this list of the things that we are building, this list that we're building of why we're all so proud to be Commanders fans at this point, because we feel that they're doing everything the right way. And when Adam Peters says, I looked at this guy in the eye, and Dan Quinn says, I talked to him and sat across from him and asked him tough questions about who he is and what his character is, that means a lot to us fans in terms of the type of roster that they're building from top to bottom. And it just seems interesting that some of these guys that are in these visits, these top 30 visit this year, like you said, Nathan, maybe they won't even draft any of those guys.
Exactly.
But it is interesting to see the type of guys, that sort of the list, how you have tackles, edges, corners are your biggest groupings there, and then you just have a couple of scattered here and there.
Yeah, we're going to get to some of the individual visits, and maybe you guys can pick out a name that maybe is a guy that you are interested in finding out about that you want to talk about. So while you do that, I'm going to talk to a couple of these comments here. Franchise Talk. Was Mike Green known before the combine and feels he might be a little fool's gold? He absolutely was known before the combine, had a fantastic year out at Marshall, 17 sacks he had over in Marshall this season. But it's Marshall. And it's 1 year. Right. He's had 3 years, and this is the only year he's had this level of production, but it's insane production.
See, now the fool's gold, that could relate to the Emmanuel Forbes. We didn't know anything about Emmanuel Forbes, but he did come from the big boy conference in college football, and he did lead the whole FBS and pick 6 returns with 6. So it's like, and then where is he at now? Trying to put meat on his bones, not with us. So yeah, I see the fool's gold thing. Yeah, but he was definitely known before the combine. But 17 sacks at Marshall could translate to 2 sacks.
17 sacks anywhere in college football is a whole lot.
Crazy.
Where did Cam Ward play football 3 years ago?
Houston.
Incorrect.
Where?
Cam Ward played football 3 years ago, and for 2 seasons at the powerhouse school known as Incarnate Word. Right? And then he went to Washington State, and then from Washington State, that's what it was. He went to Miami. I mean, guys can blossom as they go along, and that could be the case with Mike Green. Now, we may not have known who Mike Green was.
But West Virginia did.
But that's right. And a lot of people knew about what his production was because of the obscene number of sacks he had.
Code Talker here, reminding people, Randy Moss, Chad Pennington, Byron Leftwich, All
Yeah,
from
Randy
Marshall.
Moss out of that list is probably the best to
Oh,
come out
yeah,
of
Randy
Marshall.
Moss is the top, like, 2 wide
He played
receiver.
at VMI down here with Brian Leftwich. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Randy Moss didn't want to go to Marshall. Let's make
No.
that clear. He went to Notre Dame first, I believe, got kicked out of there, then went to Florida State and got kicked out of there, then ended up at Marshall. Let's just make that clear. He didn't want to go there, but he had to.
But yeah,
That's
I see that. Yeah.
Code Talker also saying here, in my opinion, Adam Peters and our scouts don't have a lot of confidence in this draft. Where do your guys' confidence lie with this draft? What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, that's a major point I think that we kind of overlook. And I think they didn't have a lot of confidence in this draft last year when they said, let's go get Marshawn Lattimore and give up a draft pick.
Thank you.
Let's go get Deebo Samuel and give up a draft pick. Let's go get Tunsil and give up, because there aren't anybody out there who's going to make a difference on this football team in this draft where we're picking.
Yeah, that build through the draft thing is gone. That is gone now. We're winning now. And I think it's because of last year, like you said, NFC Championship. If we didn't get there, that build through the draft mentality would be here. But that is gone.
It's gone.
Gone.
And the draft is very heavy up top in terms of guys like Carter and Travis Hunter and maybe Will Campbell out of LSU. There's a couple of guys there.
Yeah.
Everybody else, basically from that point on until about the third round,
wild card.
There are no game changers in there, like you had in the last couple of years, where you were getting a game changer, Kyle Hamilton at 14 or whatever.
Ashton Genty there.
I mean, maybe, but there's no sure things like you've had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just kind of looked at that and they said, we don't have any game changers here, so let's make moves now and to make this team better.
In that, sure.
It's been, they've seen it kind of for a while. I think Adam Peters and his group is that they don't see anybody that's going to help them, especially, like I said, at 29. That's a big difference than.
I think one of the things that's been talked about with this particular draft coming up is that it's deep in a lot of positions. What is not necessarily said, but can be potentially inferred from what's being said, is while this draft is deep at a lot of positions, like you said, Stoner, not a lot of studs.
Mm-hmm.
But once you're getting outside the top 10, you don't necessarily have a home run guy. You have a lot of guys who are going to be good, which it makes it for field day for good scouting groups, because you're able to kind of maneuver a little bit and get a guy who might not be somebody else's guy, but could be your guy. So I think that's going to be one of those things that gets looked at here. We did have a starred comment. Did you guys want to hit that one? Franchise talk here.
Yeah, just real quick, just kind of playing off what we were.
Yeah, franchise talk here. But wait, do you think the build for the draft motto is done because of these prospects, or is it because of our success last year? Franchise talk is asking.
They go hand in hand, I think.
Yes is the answer, because both of them.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Let's be totally honest here. Jayden Daniels changed whatever Adam Peters had in mind for how he wants to build this team for the future. Jayden Daniels just said, forget all of that. I'm going to be ready game one, and I'm going to take us to the promised land right from the start. And that's what he did. And then Adam Peters, who was like, well, I want to trade back and get Sanistril and Sinnott instead of just Cooper DeJean or whatever, or whoever they were going to get. I'm going to draft all these guys. And all of a sudden, Jayden Daniels comes out there from day one and is impressing the heck out of everybody with everything that he's doing, not just physically on the field, but in the locker room and the work ethic. And we've been over it a million times. But he said, all right, we don't have to build through the draft. But also at the same time, when you start getting towards a certain point and you've done a lot of scouting work on all these players, and you say, we know we're going to be drafting later. We don't see anybody who's going to help us. So let's continue to work towards building this team, i.e., let's go get us a Laramie Tunsil and give up 3 draft picks, fairly high draft picks for a guy like that.
Sure. Grimjaw. Yeah, Grimjaw here. Sorry, I'm going to get to the hot fever one here in a moment. But Logan Paulson from Grimjaw says there is no difference from the guy 5 through 30, and that's just what I said here. And this is what I'm talking about when I go with buckets, right? When you got a lot of guys that are going to be in that same bucket, and that's why I don't know. I said earlier what my bucket was like 10 to whatever. The bucket this year, like the more and more you look at it, the difference between one guy and another guy is minimal, and it's going to be about fit and stuff that I don't know or track or can read about. So those buckets, those buckets are going to be a lot larger this year than they are in past years. Now that does mean though that you're going to have a large, B and C bucket. Guys who aren't necessarily A tier, but those guys who can be impact players down the road, or who have a lot of talent that just might need the right coaching. Those buckets are going to be pretty filled with a bunch of different guys there, but there's not a lot of difference between these top ones.
And I think that's why I'm just kind of ho-hum about this year's draft, because one, we have our quarterback. We just got done going to the NFC Championship, and the prospects are like ho-hum outside of the players that we don't need.
Yeah,
it's ho-hum. It's not a lot of day one contributors, I think, in my opinion, in this draft.
There's going to be a lot of people wanting day one contributors.
Right. Yeah, me too. But like we're talking about, I really don't know if there really is or not. Because if there's like no difference, it's just a kind of a draft this year. And that's because we're so spoiled as a team. We're not a quarterback needy team.
Fair.
We're not
We're not used to this. We're not used to this because we're so used to needing a quarterback and having to have those conversations and being at the top end of the draft where you have exciting players at the top end of the draft.
They're top golf, playing golf together right now. Drake Maye, Michael Penix. We could take any one of those guys. Jayden Daniels was there too.
Now it's like
I'm mad you left out my man JJ McCarthy on that one. One thing that I will say for this is Hot Fever here talking about. We still have Dominique Hampton, Jordan McGee. Really want to see how they play out. There's Luke McCaffrey. We talked about wide receivers. We talked about Brandon Coleman, but we talked about some offensive tackles and everything. One thing I will say, we're going to do it every year, but do not fall in love with those guys who are day 3 picks.
Yeah.
Because there's more day 3 picks coming. And as we see more wheeling and dealing, there's going to be 3 or 4 more guys. There's going to be I guarantee you this year, you're going to read about an undrafted free agent that you're going to be like, that guy's going to make the roster.
Practice squad.
Yeah. and those guys, look, they've said over and over how much they like McGee and Hampton, right? I'm not sold on those guys. I've seen them on special teams, and I've been very impressed with them on special teams, but playing every down is totally different. And they're not going to see any playing time this year either, right? They brought back Bobby Wagner, and Frankie Lou was still there.
But we don't have anybody after that.
Okay, so
didn't have anybody after that before. You had Mykal Walker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's bad.
So
McGee was hurt too. But I know what you're saying. I see what you're saying. But they have a better shot this year playing than last year.
Right. But then you've got your same safeties essentially coming back. You just swapped out Harris for Chin, right?
Yeah.
So or Smith for Chin.
No, Harris. You're
Smiths
right.
and Harris and Jones. That drives me crazy when people have names like that. So really, where's Dominique Hampton going to get his playing time as well? And they're always going to hype their own guys until at some point when they realize that, they can't play, right? Andre Jones Jr. I don't know what's going on with him and, guys like that.
Get him out of here.
We'll see. We're all hoping that Jordan McGee, basically that Bobby Wagner can ride off to into the sunset with a Super Bowl victory and retire. And Jordan McGee just steps in and becomes the next Bobby Wagner. That's kind of what you're hoping for, but let's not get carried away with that in terms of what he can do. He was drafted that low for a reason.
He was, and there was one of the visits, getting back to the conversation at hand here. were the visits. Were there any of the names that kind of stuck out to you guys that you were interested? I know you mentioned Caleb Johnson, Ollie Gordon II, a couple running backs for them. Are those guys maybe someone you're interested in, or maybe Ja'Cory Croskett Merritt from Arizona as an option?
No.
A lot of people feel like Washington needs a running back.
We do, but not the Krosky Merritt, Sherwin Williams, Baskin Robbins guy.
What about at 128, Trev?
Who?
I mean,
What?
that guy you're just talking about. What about drafting him with pick 128, 4th round? Right? Again, these are not guys that they're looking at for 29. These are guys that are looking at their 1st rounder, their 2nd rounder, their 4th rounder, their 6th rounder, and their 7th rounder.
So we'll draft a running back, and then we'll have another competition between Michael Wiley, Chris Rodriguez, this guy, and another running back that we'll sign, and then we'll end up with B-Rob and Eckler again, and the third guy will be. So you know what I mean? Like, if we're going to get a running back, get one that's a day one starter right now, and get because that can contribute now, and then take over B-Rob's spot next year, because we're not keeping B-Rob after this year if he leaves and lasts past the June 1st cuts. So anyway, but yeah. I don't care.
Looking real quick at some of these guys, one of the things I am seeing is, and this is interesting to me, is a lot of these guys are very similar in style to a Brian Robinson, and that they're bigger guys. They're more of a 1st and 2nd down backs rather than Ollie Gordon is good. Like, I know he had a down year. Problem with him, and this is something I talk about wide receivers. I look at route running, right, and their ability to separate. I like low mileage running backs. I'm sorry, but running backs who were 3-year starters and have like 100+ carries a year type deal or touches a year, those guys are worn out by the time they get here. As much as I like them, and I'm not saying that they can't work out, they have in the past. There have been a couple of guys. Those guys just always concern me because you get so much wear and tear. Might not be the right thing.
Give me Travion Hill 128 instead of that other guy. I'll do that.
Oh, if he's there at 128, I mean, you send a missile with his name on it up to the front desk.
Or Jenkins too, the other one from Ohio State.
Yeah. So by the way, Krosky Merritt out of Arizona is 243 on the big board. So definitely a guy who's probably going to get an undrafted free agent signing here.
They're drafting a running back this year.
But it definitely seems like they're drafting a running
probably
back.
Not high.
By the way, Ollie Gordon listed at 239.
That's because of his last year, right? This past year.
Yeah, this last year, but it's wear and tear. But it's also he's a bigger running back. Running backs aren't as valued as much because there's a guy like Devin Neal who's 106.
Oh yeah,
and that's a guy who could be very exciting in my opinion. But the guys you're mentioning, Henderson and Judkins, coming in the top 66, if it were.
If he's there at 61, we take him.
Caleb Johnson, 58, by the way. But Johnson here, it says, Johnson's physically gifted running back who excels with the ball in his hands. As an early down player, he can be successful behind any blocking scheme with good vision, light footwork, impressive burst, and power.
I'm sorry, but that last line of description, anybody could be successful when somebody's blocking in front of them. Come on, guys. Except for B-Rob. But
let's take a couple look at some of these edge rushers. We said that Washington desperate need of an edge rusher. So some of them are the sexy ones we talked about earlier about how they did meet with Donovan Ease from Boston College.
I want you to try to pronounce his last name.
Tell me how it's said, and I'll repeat it.
Let me see if I can find it.
Ezeraku? I don't know. I don't even. He's one of those. I can't do it either.
Ezeraku sounds
Ezeraku? I don't know.
You find it on the show. Put it out phonetically for me, and I will definitely do my best to pronounce that name correctly. I would love to be able to pronounce the names correctly. So we know that one with Ashton Gillette. He's a much later draft pick, looking at rounds 3 or 4. He's out of Louisville. Some of the things it says here for him: productive, experience, shines with ability to threaten the pocket. His rush isn't overly complicated, but he can collapse the pocket with power, beat up the edge with violent hands, and sneak past guards with snap quickness when playing inside. Okay. The Ezaraku.
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 I think I nailed it.
Yeah. So appreciate that, Grimjaw. Thank you.
I have a question for you all.
Mhm.
And if you had to guess at this point, and maybe we'll talk about it more when we get to the mock draft later, but if you had to guess, where are they? What position group are they drafting at 29? Say they stay at 29. If you had to guess, what do you think they're taking at 29?
Edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem I'm seeing when we're doing the mock drafts, and it's going to depend, right, on how the flow of it goes. The problem I'm seeing is if they don't take edge at 29, they're at risk at getting a guy who's going to be a bucket lower than they want. So, or what fans would like to see, because there's a couple guys in that B bucket that are good, and names that we're mentioning and people that we like. And yes, Jay, edge at 29 has the most value. Tommy T, best player available. I absolutely agreed. The risk of not taking one of the best edge rushers at 29 and falling back, or taking another position and hoping that you get a good edge rusher later, they've got to really like some of those later edge rushers, which I don't love it.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't take edge rusher at 29, maybe even 61, don't draft an edge at all. Go see what's happening in the free agent list or the post June 1 cuts, or just ride with what you got. Because why waste, like Nathan said, these? Yeah, why would you do?
You're going to get another. You're going to get another
Yeah.
Jean Baptiste. You're going to get another.
Ricky
Andre
Stromberg,
Jones
who's
Jr.
going to be the next. Yeah, exactly. So,
and yeah.
What was the one? Was it Shaka Tony, and what was the other one? William Bradley King. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I had such high hopes for Shaka Tony.
I
did too,
right?
but Penn State
He had
players,
such
man,
bend. He had amazing bend coming out, and Penn State guys. I'm telling you. But I know you guys are trying to think very, very smart about this, and you're making great points about this. But I'm just trying to say, what's your gut that's going to happen? Not sort of what are they thinking or how the board's going to go. But Trev says edge. I'm predicting right now. I'm predicting right now they're taking a corner at 29.
I think I'm not going to go as far as to say corner, Stoner.
Yeah,
they're going to take somebody from the defensive backfield. Okay, it's going to be a safety or corner.
It's too broad. Get off the fence. You got to take one or the other.
Fine, then I'll say safety. I'll go one further. They're going to take Nick out of South Carolina.
Hey,
that's what I'm going to say.
I do like that pick. If they do take him, I like him a lot.
Percy Butler. Get him out of here. Can we please get Percy Butler replacement? Please.
Well, now, Percy Butler is a number
Special
3
teams,
guy anyway.
Who was our safe? Who is it? Now we have Will Harris and
you have Will Harris and you have Quan Martin.
Yeah, and Nathan's guy, Quan Martin. Apparently next year, Trev, Quan Martin and Johnny Newton are going to be on
fighting a Illini, baby.
Another year underneath.
Quan Martin. I'm sorry. I know you like Quan Martin, but you gotta go.
I like Quan Martin. I'm a little more down on Johnny Newton. He didn't do nothing for me this past year.
He actually were you not in the episode that I talked about how he actually had better stats than Deron Payne?
I believe
I was definitely absent from that.
Go look at it. Go look. Please go look at it. And in fewer snaps, he had equal or about the same. So about the same stats as Deron Payne. Just FYI. Hot fever here. We really can't go wrong at any position they pick at 29. And we probably can't go wrong either. We're going to be doing a mock draft here in a little bit. But first, some exciting news today. RFK Stadium is getting close to a deal. We got all the information for you right here on the cool down for Ref the District. Stay with us. Welcome to the cool down here in episode 221 of Ref the District. It will be mock draft 3.0. Whether or not we stay at 29 will be a question we will answer later. Now, this is going to get pushed to the side for now. Means we definitely are going to be doing turbo drafting when we get there. I'd love to get through at least 2.
Yes.
But we got bigger things to talk about in the cool down right now, which is the fact that reported today, Washington getting close to a deal to return to the RFK site, $3 billion deal where Washington ownership group, the Hogs, the Harris ownership group, is going to be putting down 2.5 of that $1 billion. I'll let you guys kind of go further into it, but first feelings.
I mean, I think it's a massive deal. Not just that they're close on the stadium deal. They've been close. They've just gotten closer. Still some political hurdles that they've got to get through, of course. But when it came out that the Harris ownership group is going to pony up $2.5 billion of the $3 billion to make this happen for a new stadium. I mean, let's start building a statue for Josh Harris right now. The biggest change that can happen between when a new owner comes in, between the time that he comes in and starts making changes and you love it and everything, and then the stadium issue, the biggest thing that can happen to derail all the love is when he says, oh, by the way, I need $2.5 billion from you, the fans, to finance my stadium. That will just turn everybody 180 degrees against that group. For him to say that he's putting $2.5 billion into that, I think that's a massive, massive, massive deal. When you build it, put the Josh Harris statue right next to the Sean Taylor and Darryl Green statues, because that's amazing to me. And I know people don't really like to talk about it, but wait until you start seeing these other stadiums and they start saying that the fans are going to have to pay for it with these licenses or taxes or whatever. The money.
There are some taxes involved here, and I got the breakdown from NBC Washington a little bit.
Yeah.
So $850 million would be provided by the district.
Yeah.
$500 million paid out between 26 and 30 for various portions of the work stadium and infrastructure. Yeah. The other $350 million be paid in 2032 through taxes generated from the new development to cover costs of the stadium and the stadium infrastructure. So there's going to be some taxes involved, but that's significantly less than probably some other deals. If Maryland or Virginia got it, you're probably looking at much more hefty taxpayer money.
Yeah. And nobody likes to do that. Nobody likes to help rich people get richer. And that's always been a huge problem. We don't want to do that. We don't want to finance a stadium for billions of dollars for a guy who just paid $8 billion for a football team. You obviously have plenty of money. Don't come to us now, right? $6 billion, right? Don't come to us and ask. And he's not. And I think that's amazing. And I think that's the best part of this. Being in DC is great. Whatever the stadium they build is great. Whatever complex they build is great. I don't care about a lot of that stuff, as long as I don't have to pay for it. That's a big deal. I think that's one of your big things too, right, Nathan? Is not wanting to.
These guys have way more money than we'll ever see in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Why am I paying for their projects. That is insane to me. And studies have been done. A lot of what they try to do and talk about is how, the stadium will bring money to the community and all this other stuff. And that's just not the case, especially when you take into account how much money has been spent. It ends up not being that good of a deal for the local community. So for the fact that it's going to be their money, love it. Let the billionaires pay for their billionaire stuff.
And they are. And they are. That's big.
So now let's talk about a little bit of the area. It's going to be a 180-acre campus, stadium design, everything. Nothing's been solidified. A lot of people here not necessarily in love with the Dome Stadium. The 54th here says a Dome Stadium in Washington is a game changer for the whole DMV. Metro access to the Final Four, WrestleMania, Taylor Swift, Super Bowl. 54th on record, loving the idea of a Dome Stadium. I know fans love the outdoor football. I think we have a fantastic quarterback who I'd love to see play in a controlled environment more often than not, and not have to take him out of the game with the weather. And that's coming from a longtime football fan. I love snowballs. Let snowballs stay in Cleveland where they can never win a championship. We've got a few to win here in DC.
Amen to that.
I don't think, again, that stuff doesn't really affect me too much, whether it's domed or open air or whatever.
Not much.
But for me, this sort of thing kind of goes along with all that stuff we see in the NFL Players Association report card when they talk about locker rooms and trainers and practice fields and all that other stuff. You want to be proud of the organization that you live and die by every week during the NFL season, that we sit here and talk about every single week. You want to be proud of whatever it is that they end up building on that DC site. And it's important for a lot of people to be in DC at the RFK site. For me, it's not, but for a lot of people, it certainly is. As long as it's something that they build that we can all be proud of. And it's got all the stuff that we want in terms of you want that Sean Taylor statue and the Darryl Green statue. And, you just want that nostalgia of RFK. So all of that matters just basically because you want to feel good about the team that you're rooting for.
I think it's important that, and less important, kind of to your point, is where it gets built. It's about the memories we build there. The memories were built into RFK.
Yeah, I like that.
Championships, comeback seasons, a lot of the parts of the franchise that a lot of diehards and longtime fans or kids of those fans will remember are those glory days at RFK. We never had those feelings at FedEx or Northwest Stadium. There's still a chance to maybe put some good memories to Northwest Stadium.
Yeah.
And 2030 is when this next stadium is going to open up. As the looks of it, that's 5 years from now. We're going to be probably on episode, doing quick math in my head, 517 by that one.
Nice.
Cool.
So,
I'll be here. I don't know if you'll be here. I'll be here.
We'll be here. We'll be here. And we appreciate everybody who's here right now. We got over 100 people watching. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. Sub to the channel and share it. Get those people. I want to hear, what are you wanting about the stadium? One of the things with the location, Trev, I know you're all the way out in BFE, Virginia. And so it's going to be a haul for you. But location is important because it's kind of center to those Maryland fans, those Virginia fans. It's back in DC. It's easy to get to through the metro, but the size of the campus means that getting there by car, you might not have a place to tailgate. Gus Bus had this to say earlier: people gonna gripe on the lack of tailgate atmosphere given the lack of acreage in the new site. Honestly, I want to be teleporting to stadiums in 20 years rather than driving a car there.
Yeah.
What do you think about the lack of tailgate for the new stadium?
It's a topic to talk about, but it's really not that big of a deal. I understand. Yes, it's cheaper to tailgate if you partake in adult activities such as drinking and all that stuff. But I mean, if we're winning games, I don't give a damn about but I didn't get to tailgate last Sunday, but we won 42-12. But I didn't get to make my famous cheesesteak subs that I've always done for the past 20 years. I understand that can hurt a little bit, but let's just come on, guys. It's tailgating. We're not there to tailgate. We're there to watch the football. Some people do go just to tailgate and watch the game in the parking lot. That's cool. But now you just get to stay home. You don't even have to worry about going out there at 7 a.m. in the cold and getting your grill ready for a game at 4 o'clock, So it's always going to be something. Someone's going to have a problem with something. It's the nature of life. That's what it is. And if you're more worried about tailgating than how we are as a football team winning and losing and championships, then just tailgate at your house and put the game on the screen and act like you're really there. I don't know what to tell you. It's not that big of a deal.
There are some cities, as kind of Gus is pointing out, that maybe there's going to be a brewery or something
That'd
in
be
that
cool.
area, which would be cool, right? There are some
More
cities
control.
that don't really have a tailgating atmosphere at their particular stadium, right? Some do, some don't, kind of just depends. But I understand the people who do like the tailgating, because it's not just that you're sitting there and drinking beers or whatever, but it's that community feel, right? It's that family feel where you get to just hang out. You see the guy that you only see, or the family that you only see 8 times a year, but you enjoy hanging out with them or whatever, or
fellow content
whatever
creators, we get to see them,
so that part of it is fun, but you adjust if there's no tailgating because there's just no space for it or whatever. You'll find different activities to be able to get that feeling that you got during tailgating. Because I remember when I first moved to the area, and we lived just a mile from the stadium, and I used to walk up there. This was back when they told me I couldn't get season tickets because there was this 5-year waiting list or whatever, right? So we used to walk up to the stadium on game day, and those parking lots were just packed with people tailgating, and it was, it gives you that great vibe, and
it does,
with and that helped me become a fan of the team at that time, was that vibe that I got with everybody out there flying their flags and throwing the football and So I get that part, but if you want that stadium in DC, you're just gonna have to give that up.
Thank you.
That's just what's gonna happen.
Sorry.
If DC is important to you.
You're just gonna have to give it up.
Yeah.
So tailgating as adjacent here, I hate parking lots. I think that we've wasted too much of our American landscape into parking lots. So the less parking lots, the better, in my opinion. I'm a tree hugger in that regard. Give me some more greenery. Do some public transit. Take the train there. As Code Talker saying here, it'll become an indoor experience. You'll ride the metro to the location. They'll have tailgate areas inside the complex. There's going to be some more bar ones here. 54th saying the NFL wants a stadium in DC with sight lines to the Capitol and and the Washington Monument. Tailgating is going to happen. Maybe in a different way. Could be much warmer for those cold games as well. Franchise talk, doing the opposite. We're kind of like, whatever. You guys are going to find a way. Franchise talk, as somebody who doesn't tailgate, I think tailgating actually matters. Look at the Bills, Eagles, the Niners, and other fans who have great tailgating. We're friends of the channel, Tailgate Ted, who does amazing charity work with his tailgates.
Mm-hmm.
He's already said he will find a way.
You find a way.
He will find a way.
But Bills, they're crazy.
They are jumping on.
They're insane.
They're jumping off the tailgates into tables. They can keep that up north.
And shoveling stadiums with 30,000 feet of snow, like that's a whole different world up there.
Yeah.
So, and every team has tailgating, not just the Bills, the Eagles, and the Niners. I understand, but like every team does. But maybe there'll be a designated area for tailgating at the RFK Stadium.
Yeah,
I'm going to let Stoner. He was the one who started this, but he is this Trev. This was the same reaction you and I had over Gus Bus earlier. Stoner and I just had that with Kevin here.
Yeah,
I don't know. Never acknowledge anybody.
I mean, I feel like we acknowledge.
What up, Kevin? How about
Kevin,
that?
we
What up,
appreciate
Kev?
you jumping in.
We
We
love
do
you.
appreciate you jumping in, Kevin. But I mean, we've been holding up people's comments left and right. Maybe we didn't get to one of yours, and we apologize.
Sorry,
But if you have
Kevin.
something to contribute to the conversation, Kevin, I would love to hear it and to have it put in there.
You asked about location. I don't care.
Mhm.
I was driving 3 hours anyway to go to the Maryland
Mhm.
location.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that it's actually going to play into the role that we are the Washington Commanders playing in DC rather than playing in Landover, Maryland.
Sure.
Yeah, fight
Sharing
for
it.
old DC
Yeah,
has
fight for
meaning
old
again.
DC has meaning when you're saying it in DC, not necessarily next door neighbors to the Baltimore Ravens. So that's cool. I've never been to RFK. I was too young to watch the games on RFK or anything like that, so I don't really know what the site is. I just understand that it's a smaller site, listening to everybody talk about it. But if it's bringing back the nostalgia feeling, then that's cool. You know what I mean? Like that, I'm down. I'll travel far and wide.
I went to RFK once, but it was for a DC United game. That's the only time I ever made it to RFK.
No,
The Ravens, they don't have tailgating. They have very, very limited parking spots because
See?
they have
there you go.
trains that go there. They have
And they're in the
parking
postseason.
They still have people who
garages.
tailgate. That, to be fair,
Right, but not to the extent that most of
yeah,
these other
not
places.
huge tents and stuff like what we
Yeah.
see at the current site at Northwest Stadium. Sure,
Yep.
absolutely. But there's people are going to bring their grills and they're going to have their times here. The last comment about the stadium that I would like to get to. We talked about traveling. BFE, Virginia. You got Dundalk, Maryland, trying to get down there, and you got Oklahoma. I think it's important that it is in DC, that no matter where we are across the country or on the East Coast, it is going to be home for our team, the one that we cheer for. And that to me is what's most important. And I'm excited about making memories there. I'll see you guys in 2030. We'll have to pull up seats.
We'll see you before then.
Well, what I'm saying is whatever the stadium's going to be called.
Right. Yeah.
We're
I don't
going.
think I'm I've seen FedEx. I don't need to go there anymore. I'll just wait for it.
I might still try to get back for a FedEx game just because I need to see Jayden Daniels in person.
Yeah, no joke.
We got to do it. We have
to do
one
that
this year for sure. Let's go to Spain if they go to Madrid. Come on.
Well, when Ref the District can foot that bill.
Absolutely. I need a passport first. Make it happen, guys. Make it happen.
Well, you don't need a passport to get on to what we got coming up here next, which is, of course, our mock draft. So let's go ahead and hit that up right now.
Hey, Stoner, it's turbo time.
Hey, don't think I didn't hear y'all joning on me about turbo time last week. I heard it all.
Good. You see how smooth it was? It was great. The fans loved it.
It was well received, minus the fact that we weren't taking the players they wanted. Let's do it this way. First, we're gonna get two real quick. We only got about half an hour, so I'm gonna get through two. We're doing turbo. The first one lets us three kind of gauge where we're at and take our picks. Okay. The second one, I want everybody in the comment section to give us their pick. It's going to be a little slower that way.
I can do a live poll when we get there.
All right. So Stoner's going to get to a live poll. I'm not saying I don't want engagement now. I do want your engagement. Stay chatting with us. Make sure you're still engaged because you can sway which way the three of us go. We're not ignoring you. The pick is coming down to what Ref the District wants, and then the viewers will pick absolutely the second. Fair?
Fair.
Yeah.
All right. Trades or no trades, we'll deal with that when we get there. Let's go ahead and start the draft. Turbo, it's going to go off the board. Wow, Turbo literally just skipped all the way to us. Maybe I'll go to fast. I kind of do like seeing the
that was...
they're starting to come around a little bit, aren't they? All right.
There are zero trade options, by the way.
No trade options.
No trade. Nobody wants to trade.
So we're looking at BPA here. That's your list that you got here.
Colston Loveland, take
okay. Oh, I'm breaking the TV if they take Colston Loveland. I'm just telling you that right now.
Nah,
our boy Jaden Higginson's there.
Go back up. There was somebody else. Landon Jackson's there.
Wow, there's a
With
lot of
edge.
guys I like
Yeah,
there.
okay.
Trey
Trey
Amos.
Amos.
These are guys who are all. I mentioned I was going to keep that list up. These are all names that they've met with.
Stoner, there's your cornerback first round if you want to.
Yeah, no, I already know who I'm taking here.
Who?
I'm taking Calvin Banks.
Who is that? What's he do?
He's the tackle. He's
He's
really
No,
I'm taking
no,
Calvin Banks,
no. You're not.
and I'm playing Brandon Coleman at right guard, not left guard, because Nick Allegretti's got that thing on lockdown. I'm playing him at right guard, and then when Cosme comes back, I'm cutting Brandon Coleman.
No,
I'm a fan.
I'm a little out of control.
you're cutting Andrew Wiley. Are you really gonna keep Wiley over Cosme and
Well,
Coleman?
I'm cutting Wiley, but then okay, I'm putting Brandon Coleman on the bench. Then
So who's gonna be the right tackle? This guy?
Calvin Banks.
No.
Calvin Banks is there. He's probably a guard. I will say that he's probably. I'm on record saying that he's a guard, but I like the pick. I like the pick.
All right, I'm cutting Cosme.
Hermit saying Logan would take Loveland at 29.
Yeah, because he's a tight end.
Tight end. That's some tight end love going. That's some tight end love going here. I just want to say Nick E.
Take him.
Iman
Take him.
Wari is
Take him.
available.
He might be there at 61 also if they've got him ranked at 67. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. I would. I not
Yeah.
You taking
is
him?
what I see here, but
Taking the
there.
big boys. I think it's 2 out of 3 going with Kelvin Banks Jr.
Oh my
here.
gosh. What are we doing?
yes.
Oh, I only did 1 round.
we got to start all over.
I got to start all the way over. Mock draft simulator. We're gonna get. I messed that one up. That was me.
2 rounds, 4 rounds, 6
We're
rounds.
gonna do all
7
7.
rounds?
We only got 5
Oh.
picks to make.
What happened? What
That's
happened?
No more turbo. Remember, you didn't want turbo. did you?
Yeah, fast. We're
Oh,
gonna
they
go
didn't like
fast.
pick
this
so
year.
much we had to start over.
I'm
Thank
still
you,
gonna go
BFF.
quick. Yeah, I made it a 1 round draft because I'm a goober.
Oh,
Loveland's gone this time. I saw.
James Pierce, take
done.
him.
Pierce done. I don't
No
care that
question
Hampton's
asked.
there. I don't care.
Marion
any of those
Hampton
guys.
or James Pierce. Who you taking?
I'm taking James Pierce.
I'm doing James Pierce. Any
Yeah,
yeah.
questions?
No.
Yep. There we
No.
go.
Sweet.
All right.
That looked
Your
good.
guy went off the board already. 61 coming up on the clock. No Nick E. I saw that
Oh,
one.
he's gone.
Man, this takes forever. Yeah, I'm just gonna no trades again that time. By the way, I wonder if did I accidentally pick no trades? We'll have to make sure.
No.
Yep. So yeah, he's
Get out of this.
he's
gone?
gone.
No,
All right,
well,
who we
what
at?
you gonna
Best
do?
player available.
Ooh,
Benjamin Morrison.
keep going.
Or
Ooh,
Travion Henderson.
there. Keep
Travion
going.
Henderson. Right there. Travion Henderson, 61.
Oh, Jared Ivey's another edge.
No. Go get.
There's your
go-
boy Kyle Williams, Nathan.
Go get Travion.
No, that's not my boy. That is
Oh.
everybody. Trev will
Everybody
tell you.
else.
Everyone was screaming at us. Take Kyle
No, Kyle
Williams.
Go get.
Tommy says.
Travion Henderson.
Tommy says Pierce doesn't have the commander's tag.
There might
Travion
be, I
Henderson.
think, character things, or I think that they're referring
Sure.
to
Yeah,
him.
Micah Parsons had bad character too, and look at him, he's great. So
All right, who did you guys think?
Travion
I was just-
Henderson.
I was just goofing 54th. I wouldn't
New
cut it.
goofy.
Sorry.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
one
you gotta
actually
know my
wants
humor.
Brandon Coleman cut. But I will reiterate, Washington's looking at a lot of tackles. It could potentially mean, I know they need depth at tackle because they got a couple older guys, but it could also
At
mean Brandon
29.
Coleman moving to the inside.
That's fine. Travion Henderson.
No, I'm taking Morrison.
Yeah, I'm with you on Morrison. Two for two.
God.
Trev's like, man,
Poor
you guys aren't
Trev.
listening to me.
This is two.
We have
two out of
corner.
three. No,
We just signed Noah. We
Yeah.
got Mike. We got Marshawn.
You got you got
12.
Iggy for another year, and Jonathan Jones, who's like 100 years old.
He's 30.
And
that's-
NFL
That means
years.
Terry McLaurin's
I'm
100
with
years
you.
old. Cool.
Oh, look who's there, Nathan.
I
Kyle
told
Williams,
you,
Don't do it.
and watch the chat light us up right now
Don't do it.
about Kyle Williams.
Oh, really? Lampkin's gone?
Morrison
I'll
has a
just take
bad
him.
hip, says Doug.
Keep going.
Uh,
Trevor Etienne.
wow, is he going that low in these drafts?
Mm-hmm.
He was so good. I know he played it last year at Georgia, but he was so good at Florida.
Take it.
Let's see. His current trend stoner is 134 to 151. where
Wow.
he's being picked.
All right. So Williams at 128 is a no brainer. Hermit Rob says Kyle also.
I'm not even gonna say nothing else. Y'all,
Trev's like Trev is like
right now.
Trev's like our friend from before who's just like saying, you guys don't even talk to
Alabama's
anybody.
ain't in
Y'all
nobody.
Bamas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Kyle Williams.
I'm taking Kyle Williams, I guess. Why?
Oh.
No, I'm not taking Kyle Williams.
Oh, you're not? Oh, okay.
No,
well, neither is Nathan.
if there's a reason why he's still there at 128. There's a reason, and I'm not doing it.
I honestly feel like he's one of the guys who's getting a late bump, and that's what he's just the kind of the sexy guy that people are taking. But realistically, I feel like he's going to be a third round guy. I mean,
he's 6 feet tall. I'm
He's
taller
also-
than him. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Don't bring
Can
that
you
to
run
me.
a 4.4?
Yeah.
where is
All
But
right,
can he-
let's draft Trev.
Can he create separation to get the ball at 6 feet tall?
I'm taking Kyle. I don't know who you guys are taking.
I'm not taking Kyle.
Who are you
okay,
taking?
well, I changed
I'll
my
take
mind.
Trevor Etienne, or I'll take.
Did they meet with these guys? That's the question you got to ask.
That's
Oh
true.
my God.
No, I'll take the kid from Texas. Scroll up a little bit.
For the record, they did meet with Trevor at the Senior Bowl Team Pro in a virtual meeting.
Oh, well, then definitely take him. That's 3 meetings.
Right there.
Jaden Blue.
Jaden Blue. That's who I'm
Oh
taking.
my God.
Anybody?
Let's see.
Anybody?
They top 30 visit, Trev.
Who? Jaden Blue?
Mm-hmm.
So was the other guy,
No, NTN did not get a top. He wasn't in the 30.
but he had 3 meetings.
He
not
did
just
have 3
one?
meetings.
Not just one.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
he wasn't
I'm
brought
going-
to
I'm going
Top
Trevor.
Golf.
He has my name. I'm not going this Jaden Blue guy.
All right, let's see. Let's check the analysis. Okay, Blue is one of the best athletes in the running back class. Top tier, long speed, short area explosiveness. He can add strength, improve ball security. He has potential to be a home run threat.
Shades of Tony Pollard. I'm good. Go to Trevor.
NTN won't be an everyday down back like his older
fine.
brother, but he has
Bye-bye.
elite burst and quickness for the position. He could thrive as a complementary option in a
get him
zone
out.
scheme and shown a senior. I'm sorry, man. I'm not
Get
even
him
going to
out.
finish. Blue, we're good. Home
What
run
about
threat.
Isaac
We need a home
Tesla?
run threat.
Isaac Tesla from Arkansas. What's he talking about?
Trev's just anybody that I want, not your guys's. I mean, he doesn't. Let's see here.
Tesla.
He's
I mean, we
6'4".
You can't draft
That's
him
good
for
size.
political reasons, right? We can't have a Tesla in DC.
He started at Division II, and then he came up to the big boys. Big slot option would develop 6'4". Hey, that's your slot option. If Deebo is not going to, you can't pay Deebo. There you go. But you want to take Kyle Williams, who's projected.
No, I'm not
65.
taking Kyle Williams. I am
Yeah.
looking at Jaden Blue. Home run threat.
All right, do it, Jaden Blue.
All right. You guys wanted a running back. You got a running back.
I want the Travion Henderson, but
Kyle Williams might
Now we
still
gotta
be
wait
here,
a
which
while.
would be hilarious. Yeah. This is where we can go. We will just do turbo.
if Kyle Williams is still here,
That'd be pretty bad if he
RJ Mickens is still here. That's
Wow, he was there the last time we.
Ty Robinson has been rumored about us this week. I saw that. Malachi Moore.
Mm.
Ooh, take
I like-
him. Ooh, Dante Thornton Jr.
get a
Go
wide
Malachi
receiver.
Moore. Malachi Moore.
Malachi Moore,
Yeah, remember Nathan?
not
this-
the
this
6'5"
dude was
receiver.
Hold
receiver,
on.
didn't we? No,
Hold on.
Oh, not a route runner.
No.
This. Oh no. Go back to that. I have not researched this guy.
He's huge.
Go back to.
JP Finley likes
He's
him.
6'5" and runs a 4.3.
Yeah,
I
go
don't
get him.
need him to run routes.
Go get
I
him.
just need him to run down the field.
Yeah, go get him.
And jump over everything.
All right, Dante Thornton.
Oh yeah.
There you go. You got 2 speed guys.
I'm with you, locked on. 6'5" and runs a 4.
Yeah, Jay Reyes
yeah.
calling out as well. Runs that 4.3.
Ty Robinson's still
Sick.
there. Yeah,
That's
he
what
is-
Washington people said. Hold on. Did I foul? Did I foul us? Has Thornton met with the team?
Oh, you need to check.
JP Finley likes him.
How do you
Thornton
check
has
that?
not met with the team. Unless
how
I
do you find
grossly misspelled his name. Nope, Dante Thornton. Whew, I misspelled his name.
that?
He's there.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I think
A lot of
we just
love
won
for
the
Thornton.
draft. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't go wide receiver early then.
I don't think Rockman liked it, but
Who we got now at 245?
245. This is our last pick.
Let's base this off a name.
let's go with a kicker.
Graham Mertz, quarterback from Florida, your guy.
Oh, I hated him.
Yeah, he's bad.
Oh, by the way, have we not talked about Florida winning the national championship?
Eugene
what?
Asante, just because Eugene is the name to pick. There we go. Just
Nice.
wanted to stop the Florida talk. Didn't need any of that.
Yeah, who cares?
A plus,
Wow.
A.
Nice.
And then
My
you blew it
Eugene
at the end
throwaway.
there,
Yeah.
Nathan, with C+.
A lot of orange in this draft
Throwaway.
for us.
I like it. I like this draft.
I'm pretty
I do
happy
too.
with this.
I am too.
Wait a minute. Let me take a screenshot of that.
Yeah, a
That's
lot
not-
a
yeah,
lot
we
of
got an
people not
edge
happy with
Yeah,
the
that's
Morrison pick.
It's top 13%
But
draft rank.
Scroll down just a little bit, Nathan, so I can get the W in there a little bit better. No, I mean scroll up. Sorry,
Up.
wrong.
do you want me to just zoom out?
No, you just need to scroll up a little bit. Okay, so that's good. Okay.
Jay saying the hip injury is a real concern. Yeah, I
For
guess
who?
I definitely ruined that. But I just needed him to stop talking about Florida. So that's on me.
Eugene.
That's on me.
All right, we got another one now,
All right.
right?
Let me make sure I go over this. 7 rounds. This is where we're going to be doing polls. You guys are going to be going with us here. Turbo, public. We're going to go a little bit here. We care about position. Draft for needs a little bit less. Randomness maybe a little bit more. Trades look like they're in here. So I'm just going to enter the draft. Right? And there's nothing I'm saying. Okay. Okay, so get ready. Who do you want at 29? Get ready with it because we're going to go turbo again. We're just going to get to the.
Whoa. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So 3 trades on the table if anybody is interested.
Let's stay put.
Cleveland at 33, Tennessee at 35,
No.
and Pittsburgh at 83. So
Stay
83
here.
is out of the question.
Stay here.
The only problem I have with the trade is if we do the trade, I got to bring up my trade binder thing.
Stay here.
So yeah, let us know because it's the audience is doing it.
Come on, audience. Stay here.
Who do you want? You probably want to see some names. Probably is what you want to see.
Let me put some names in the poll here.
There's Connerly Jr. There's
Morrison.
Loveland.
I liked him. He was good.
I'm pretty sure Nick E is still going to be out here. Revel is still here.
All right, give me some names. Loveland.
Loveland.
Anderson.
Ooh, I guess actually Nick
Kyle
E.
Williams.
I need some names to who I should put there.
All right, wide receiver Jayden Higgins.
Okay.
No running back named Loveland. You got that one?
Yep. Is Nick E's available?
He is. Nick E is available.
Eman Worry. Okay, give me one more to put in there.
Amos. Is Amos available? I didn't see him there. Did I miss him? Amos is. Trey Amos is.
He's available?
He is available.
All right, poll has begun. Let's see what
Where would you guys go? Where are you leaning right now?
with what's available right there. Go scroll down a little. Let me see a couple more names here. Yeah, I'm going
Benjamin Morrison.
I'm going Nick E.
Oh, Nick E's there still?
Yeah.
Yep, Nicky is still there. He's still there. By the way,
You're not going Nick Scourton, edge from Texas A&M?
No.
Is that who that was?
All right. Right now we have
Oh.
44% is Trey Amos. Oh,
Wow.
sorry. It's been tied up. 40% for Amos and 40 for Imanwari. Nobody wants Jayden Higgins and nobody wants Loveland.
So go get.
Who did I say was the
Get those
trade targets? Cleveland. 33. So by the way, we'd get a third and a fourth from Cleveland
for this pick.
Or
But not a second?
Not a second.
Just a third and a fourth.
Because they're pick 33. We're not moving.
Oh, but we get their 33.
We get their 33 and their
and a third
and pick 104. Yes.
Oh, I'd do that. Yeah.
And then Tennessee, we'd be getting pick 35, pick 120, and 141.
And
Yeah,
we
I'd
have one
probably
at
do either of
120
those.
something already, right? Yeah.
So
Dude,
where are we at? Let's
Nick
move along.
Imanwari has 50% of the votes. He's leading right now over Trey Amos.
All right, I'm going to go with that as the pick here, which
right.
I don't think is unreasonable.
No.
And moving forward, next pick at 61.
Cam Scatterbo.
A lot of people
Scatterbo.
love Cam Scatterbo.
I love Cam Scatterbo too.
What is this? 61?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, yeah.
So you're going to have to do Scatterbo, Henderson,
Okay.
Alajaho,
He has the edge from UCLA.
and Jalen.
I might not spell the
Royals.
names right.
That's fine. And Jalen Royals is the wide
Okay,
receiver.
Scatterbo, Travion Henderson.
Go get Cam Scatterbo. If Cam Scatterbo is there at 61, I think we take him. There's your running back.
Who's the other? Give me the other ones.
Do
Aladajo. Oh my
yeah,
god.
Alajo.
Kyle Williams.
Aladajo. And what's the other one?
Maybe do Demetrius Knight, linebacker.
Demetrius Knight. All right.
Aggressive on run defense.
People don't like my Cam Scatterbo pick. Why not? Dude's a
Oh,
beast.
I'm with Rockman on this one. I'm not a Scatterbo guy.
All these running backs are going to be Jags. Let's just be honest. There's not a standout running back in here.
There's the running back that you're not tracking right now. That's the guy that's going to go off.
And his name is Devin Neal.
So
All
we're
right.
going to give this a little
So
bit. Stoner, who do you like out of these? Who are you thinking?
the votes are in pretty much, and Travion Henderson is running away with the votes at
I like that pick,
80%. 80% of the votes are going Travion.
All right. That's who we're going to go with and keep this moving. Pick 128 coming up. Who do you think is going to be available? Any names? Kyle Williams, maybe still there. Has been in previous drafts.
Kobe Bryant.
He's gone. People loved the Tesla earlier.
Quarterback from Kansas. Didn't Cincinnati have a corner named Kobe Bryant? Is that the same one?
That's a good
Did he
question.
transfer?
Slender build, but apparently he's lengthy.
Shades of
6'1".
Josh Norman. What a name. I was so hyped when we signed him.
Limit him to off zone. I'm not going to put Kobe Bryant on that.
He doesn't even make the list of potentials.
Nope. Do Tesla. Do RJ Mickens. They want man corners. They're looking for man corners.
Riley Leonard.
Quindarius
All
Robinson
those cornerbacks.
Quandarius Robinson.
and Willie Lampkin.
Oh, I like Willie Lampkin.
You
Tar
just
from
saying
North
that because he's a
Carolina.
Tar Heel.
Well,
Quandarius Robinson.
Mm.
And what's the other one?
Willie
Willie
Lampkin.
Lampkin.
He's been rumored for us already.
Let me see real quick. Willie Lampkin. Okay, I spell it right. What is it? Lampkin. Okay.
Lampkin.
All right.
Could
Polls
be
up.
a center.
Make your selections. What about that kid from Tennessee? He's not available? The wide receiver?
Not yet.
Yes. Wide receiver. No, he's
There he is.
178. He's
Oh.
later.
Man, I'd draft that dude in the second round, man.
Right.
He's probably going to get drafted higher
Yeah,
than most
he's
people think.
Mhm.
6'5", 4'3".
runs a 40.
Woo-wee.
Yeah,
That's got
dog.
some speed to him.
That's crazy work.
Let's see what the poll is running right now. It's pretty close. We're gonna have to let this one breathe a little bit. 20%, 30%, 20%, 30%. We're gonna have to let it breathe just a little bit.
Going Lampkin. Is that a Tar Heel thing like Trev is? Is that what that is? Did I misspeak, by the way? Should I not? 5'11", 290. He is a small guy.
What is he? A guard?
He's listed. They said that he might have to move in. Maybe Logan Brown was the one that we needed to do. 6'6", 315.
But can he move?
I mean, we're still locked up. Tesla has
Yeah.
27%. RJ Mickens has 27%, and Willie Lampkin has 27%.
Aaron Donald was a short guy. I mean, I'm not comparing Willie Lampkin to Aaron Donald, but
I mean, just kind of did. You just
but
just kinda
size, I am.
What's our guy's name for Tennessee, the receiver again?
did.
Thornton Jr.
Thornton.
Yeah, what's his first name?
You're just going to go ahead and get him ready. Not
I'm
even
just-
in here. Wide receiver is Dante Thornton
Dante.
Jr. You're going to look up highlights, aren't you? Just to go to sleep with. All right, let's hear it. Who's winning right now, or give me a
All right.
tiebreaker.
All right. Man, they're still all tied.
Give me a tiebreaker.
The next person who puts a name down of
Locked
those
on Law.
four,
I feel this in my bones. Locked on Law. Not drafting anyone whose name I can't spell or pronounce.
all right,
Love it.
Jay says Tesla. He was the first one to come in with
All right.
wait,
Isaac
wait,
Tesla.
16.
It is.
Wait, did you already do it?
Yep.
I did.
That's fine. That's fine.
Tesla's fast.
More votes came in and Mickens ended up winning, but that's okay.
Ooh.
Just to see here, I'm glad we went with the wide receiver because our man Dante Thornton did not last to pick 205.
Oh man.
Kyle McCord.
Go ahead and put Hancock,
Malachi Moore. Take him.
Moore. We're
Come
giving
on,
them
fans.
names.
Come on, fans.
Jalen Travis.
All right, hang on. You're gonna have to. Tesla came back. All right, sorry, because I had to do something different. All right, give me the names again.
Let's go with Hancock, Jordan Hancock, Malachi Moore.
How you spell Malachi?
MALA.
Fake it till you make it. We're at 157 right now. So
Malachi what? Moore?
Moore.
All right.
Jalen Travis.
All right, one more.
Jimmy Horn Jr.
Jalen Smith has actually been brought on several
That's true.
visits.
Yeah.
Okay, polls up.
Jimmy Horn Jr.
Jimmy Horn Jr. is that low?
Yeah. He's a small receiver.
Flex size.
All right, let's see. Poll is live. It is
Yeah,
going.
hit us quick with those. Let's move us.
Malachi
this.
Moore is running pretty much the guy.
Yeah.
Malachi Moore. I think this is by far a biased name thing. I think that's just a
He
deal.
was good. Number 13.
I know, but it's an Alabama guy you're familiar with.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a poll on this one. The first one to decide, first one to answer gets to choose this one. Are we up? Are we ready?
We're ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
First name.
All right. So let's go with Ethan Downs or
I'm just looking at Boomer Sooner, man.
all right, Ethan Downs, Clay Webb, Jalen Walker, or Montrell Johnson Jr.
Let's go. Let's get a name. Who's in the chat still? Let us know if there's a guy that you like. I was just scrolling through.
Yeah, you can pick any of those guys who are available. Who's ever still in the chat can make that.
Yep.
First one gets the prize. All right, they're all still sleeping.
No, there's quite a few in the chat, but they're probably not sure who's available.
There you go, Walker.
Walker it is. First Walker I find. Jalen Walker, linebacker, Indiana.
There you go.
Drafted.
Done.
Nice.
We got an A. A lot of A pluses in ours.
That's what we
See
do.
how they went.
Can you imagine if Adam Peters actually ran his draft like that?
Bro, it was
The way we were doing it.
Nick
Yeah,
E.
So bad. By the way, they gave an F for Nick E.
That's crazy.
A guy who routinely is not available at 61 and sometimes picked before 29 gets an F.
Wow, sorry.
I have to say, out of the two boards, everybody, I like ours a lot better.
Yeah, me too.
I like ours. Go ahead and get the screenshot of this, Stoner, and compare. We'll compare the two on Ref the District channels. We do appreciate everybody jumping in with us. We'll be back live next week, 7:30 Eastern here on YouTube and Facebook. You, of course, catch our draft content. We apologize. Life came at us quick. We weren't able to get it out Monday. Got it to you Tuesday. Do check that out. That's the wide receivers. Next up, running backs. Let us know which running backs you want to see. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. Trev in the house.
Yep.
Full house today. We talked about the visits. We talked about the new stadium. And we talked about Deebo Samuel dilemma.
Yeah.
Whether or not we have one or not. We appreciate you jumping in with us. And until next time.
It is a dilemma, the Deebo thing. It's a dilemma.
Be a fan.